in a minor sense, her deciding to stay silent is a small decision. But in a grander picture, the bird lived.
And I think she walked away with a greater understanding of herself and what she cared about.
Welcome back to the Rooted Minds podcast, where we come together as a family to talk about books and our emotions. And in this season, we're diving into some pretty cool short stories. And in this one, we're talking about a really sweet one called The White Heron.
The White Heron. Yeah, it's about this girl named Sylvia, a young girl. She's 9 years old in the story, and it's about her kind of interactions with nature largely, and a powerful choice that we'll talk about as well. So just kind of getting into it here, what do you feel like stood out to you most in her journey? There's wonder and fear, there's guilt, something else. What do you feel like stood out?
Well, I think like the setting plays it's almost like its own character. This is like rural Maine. It's very like natural, very preserved in a way.
Yeah.
And Sylvia is growing up there, and so she has this like heart for preservation, but she's also alone a lot.
She is.
And so she's alone with animals. Like she's always chasing this cow that likes to hide, and
Yes.
getting in trouble for taking so long getting the cow back. The cow never wants to not be back, but the
Miss
cow just
Moody.
thinks this is a funny game. So it's like she has this special relationship with animals where she plays along, and she's just like, she doesn't see that like her version of studying these animals is very much one of like wonder and respect, but like studying them as they are, which
That's
feels
good.
very contrasted to this character that she meets along the road.
Yes.
Definitely does. Yeah. Maybe while we're on that, who is this third character, this extra character that comes into the story?
So there's this man, and he's called an ornithologist, but that just basically means he's a bird hunter. And so he hunts these birds, and he does like taxidermy on them. So he stuffs them and mounts them. He's a collector too, and so he's kind of on this vacation where he's hunting out all these rare birds. And so he kind of meets her along the way. Yeah. And kind of scares her a little bit, and that when he first meets her, and that may be helpful to talk kind of a little bit of context for her, maybe about her younger life, if y'all picked up anything in the story about that.
Yeah, I think like she definitely is described as like shy and withdrawn. And I think personally I was a little shy and withdrawn also when I was like younger, but I don't think that was out of like lack of me wanting to be more open and more because I am now. But I think there was definitely for me, I guess, a level of just like trying to figure people out and reading them and like almost like testing the water before I engage of
Yes.
So I think definitely meeting new people is different.
Well, I
too.
also just think in relation to you're such a sensitive person, like you kind of sense when something is off. And especially as a 9-year-old, you don't understand that sense. And so she meets this guy who obviously has a different motive than she does.
Yes.
And he's like saying, well, what if I stayed at your house? And she all of a sudden has this fear. And it's like there's something in her that there's like a protective agency that is like operating inside of her saying, you look at things a little differently than I do. And I'm not sure you're safe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like such a valid response, like her distrust of him initially. I mean, like you can imagine, like she's a 9-year-old girl in the woods of Maine, and this man, a stranger with a gun, walks up to her, So asks to sleep over at her house, so it's like definitely a different time. But so she feels this like distrust, and also she's coming from the city too. She came from the city, and she's moved to live with her grandma. So she's living just with her grandma. It's just her and her grandma. And so this man is coming, and like you said, has different motivations that are not the same as hers.
And it's interesting, you mentioned she grew up in the city. They're in New England. And she remembers immediately at that first encounter, suddenly a picture of this great red-faced boy, apparently who used to scare her or something. We weren't given any details about that, but like that encounter like reminded her of it. And it kind of looked like her body was kind of responding to that, right? But I love that. And so this guy, he ends up being pretty winsome as a guy. Like he was able to talk smoothly and validate her and encourage and stuff like that, and ends up offering her money basically in friendship and all of the things that $10.
Imagine all the treasures you could get with $10, she says.
Granted, for them that was probably a lot, but we don't know exactly. but that made it more difficult for what was to come, I think, right? So how do you feel like that affected, her in the beginning, considering her background, considering how old she was and this idea of being alone? What does it seem like she was wanting, and how do you feel like that affected her?
Well, I think it's interesting because they set this guy up as like the bad guy, but he's not like honestly much of a villain.
Yeah.
Like he has a gun, but his intention is not for harming people. Mm-hmm. It's for furthering his study of birds.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it's just his manner and his method of doing that does bring harm to rare birds.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Like, should we be killing rare birds? They're rare.
We
want them to be fruitful and multiply, not be so rare.
Yep.
So yeah, I think it's challenging because it becomes this gray area.
Yeah.
Of he's actually nicer. His grandma approves of him, and like she feels fine with him being there, and so it's this conflict that really does mess with the challenge that she's going to be faced with.
Right.
Yeah, and it's interesting because the way that he talks about the birds, it's almost like he carries the same sort of respect for them that she does, but his end is a different kind of end than hers is, where she wants to like be friended, he wants to study.
Yes, exactly. And so she ends up wanting to actually help him. She wants to be around him. She kind of follows him around without saying anything, but she lets him lead and, does all the things, and ends up coming up with this great idea one night. She ends up staying up all night thinking about this great idea. And she gets up early in the morning and she's going to go climb this massive tree that she knows of. She wants to basically verify where this bird is for him.
They're hunting for the white heron itself.
They're hunting for the white heron. She knows where it is. She thinks she knows. And so this is where a lot changes here. She climbs this tree and sees a lot more than she thought. Right? She sees so much further than she thought she could see. It's when the sun is coming up too. So there's this beautiful sunrise going on, and she sees the heron too. And she sees it look back at its nest, and she knows exactly where it is. And she has this moment up there.
She can see the ocean too, and that was something that she had always wondered, if she'd be able to see the ocean if she could climb that tree. Which, first of all, this tree climb that I described was not just like a casual tree. She like climbed one giant tree, and then she had to like get to another tree like from the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, squirrel.
I'm scared for her.
I know, and it was talking about how like the prickles of the bark are like scratching her and stuff as she's trying to hold on, and it's like, like she was dedicated.
She's quite the climber, but she was it described her looking down on the hawks that she used to look up at.
She's high up. That would scare me.
She was very high.
I think is interesting, just even as you're talking about this, like her spending the time with the man was exactly how she studied everything else.
Interesting.
And so like climbing up this tree and thinking about like this big idea of verifying before she told him gave her time to get to the higher places and have a clearer thought about him and realize, I don't think I support this.
That's what I was,
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. There's this moment of like clarity or something up there whenever she climbs up. Yeah, that's a good
And finds
thought.
the bird. She finds it.
She does.
She definitely finds it.
Yeah.
So and then we'll come back to the tree moment in a second, but she climbs back down successfully, amazingly. And then she gets back to the house, and they're of course wondering where she is, and start asking her all these questions, and especially the ornithologist man who's been her friend, and has discerned that she knows where this heron is, and so begins to ask her, and she just stands there. She doesn't answer his question. She just stays silent. So one question could be is, do you feel like her silence is a form of spiritual discernment, right there, choosing something that aligns differently, like you were talking about before, with what she feels is valuable?
Yeah, I definitely do. And I think that this is almost like narratively a form of like character development for her. Because in the beginning, when she meets this man and she's trying to find the cow and all of that, she's a little bit unsure about what to do about him or how to react in response to him. And that's okay. She's 9, that's so understandable.
Yeah.
But by the time she's up in the tree and she experiences this like sense of wonder, she has this sort of like moral judgment where she makes a choice, and she says, I'm not going to tell him about this, so she's like making a judgment and a decision based on her own morality, which is like a big deal for a 9-year-old,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think too, like, I think she knew that he was like a smooth talker, and I kind of felt from this, like, she knew she couldn't out talk him or out convince him, and so like,
just don't engage.
Yeah,
just don't engage, point,
That's its own kind of discernment.
That's discernment there too, exactly.
And she doesn't have to lie if she stays silent.
It's true.
Yeah.
Which, is respectable that she doesn't want to lie, but she also doesn't want to harm the bird. So.
And I think it's such a cool picture that she's just come from seeing a higher perspective. And if we're talking about the spiritual analogy there, there's a strength and clarity that she gained after getting the higher perspective.
Yes.
Which similarly, when we get a higher perspective, we can find that same kind of
good.
strength and clarity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of wonder actually too, now that we're like talking about this, we don't get the full story of what happened after that point when she stays silent and doesn't tell the man about the bird. But from the beginning of the story, we kind of learn that this man has a sense that she knows where this heron is. And so I wonder if he it almost seems like he understood that her silence meant she knew where it was and she wasn't going to tell him, and she didn't want him to hurt the bird. And I wonder if that was like, in a way, like him respecting her wish. I don't know, because we don't obviously see what he does after that, but
interesting.
Just a thought.
That's so good. Wow. Yeah, there's so much here about our spiritual condition and perspective and discerning others. There's so much more than just about protecting a bird. So she climbs this tree and sees the world from above, right? It's like this mountaintop moment that she has. And I was, as you read through it, you get a picture of that a little bit, and it reminds me of, some moments in scripture too, where there's this silence that helps you discern, that quietness that helps you like get a clearer picture, almost like a spiritual revelation in a way. Like, man, there's something I was missing here, and I needed this quiet to actually help me discern that. And I feel that, like the Bible says, be still and know that I'm God. Like there's something that comes after that quiet.
Wow.
Something we know further than from before.
Yeah.
So there's these white herons that we can sometimes find, we'll say, in our own life. Things that we feel like are just really important to us. Right? What are some ways we can honor those white herons in our lives? There's some things that are just too sacred. We know it in our heart, almost in our body, that are just too sacred to really let go, if that makes sense. We see in this girl, she just chose to be silent. Are there some other ways that we do that we can protect? that sacred thing.
Yeah, I think like, what she's doing is defending this bird in particular. But I also think that like one of the ways that she honors it is to like experience it. Like I was just thinking about the verse that you just shared, be still and know that I'm God. Like I thought a lot about that verse, and to me that know that I am God is like an experiential, relational kind of knowing. And so when she finally gets up in the tree, maybe she has this sense that the heron does exist somewhere in her vicinity, but until that point she hasn't experienced the bird itself and the view that's at the top of the tree and everything. So she has this experiential knowing that is sort of honor in itself, in the same way that when we know, experience God, we honor him.
And I think too, like, I could imagine, like, if it was me, up there, I would get this, like, maybe, somberness to it, because there is a decision that she does have to make, and that decision does impact the bird, and it's like, just the reconciliation. Yes. Of your choices do affect people. And like even the small choices, like in a minor sense, her deciding to stay silent is a small decision. But in a grander picture, the bird lived,
And I think she walked away with a greater understanding of herself and what she cared about. Like especially like the contrast of a little girl versus a grown man. Like she could easily be like, well, you know best. I'm just a kid. I'm just a girl. Like these contrasts that we have here. But because of what she experienced and her history with the love of nature, that kind of, I wonder if it surprised her that she found herself staying silent. Like being fresh to that experience. But I think to answer your question, it's almost like I feel we surprise ourselves sometimes in the ways that we find ourselves protecting what is most valuable and worth protecting. It kind of comes out of us a lot of times when we really care about something. Which is kind of a cool experience.
And sometimes we don't know what that is until it is challenged or threatened.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
But, in this act that she does, she protects the bird and this sacred thing that, it doesn't even understand that it's sacred, and it doesn't know what she's done, but it's like protected and without it knowing. Wow. So many good thoughts from this story. It's so cool to me how in a very seemingly simple and childlike story, you can learn so much just about what it means to act as an adult. We can learn from these children and the way that they protect beautiful things and that sort of thing. But thank you for listening today. Make sure to go read the story and share your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. And until next time, we'll see you. Thanks again for joining us on the Rooted Minds podcast. If you're enjoying the kinds of discussions we're having, consider joining our learning community, where we teach the arts and have many more discussions like these. But until next time, may you find joy, grace, and peace in the pages you turn.